Okay, we are now recording. Great. Louis, did you want to do an intro at all, or should I go right into the questions?
I think it would be nice for Dan to have a demo, and then also for Risidio, and then we could do the pre-selected questions afterwards and an open discussion.
Okay, cool. Well, I guess just to give a quick intro, we're really privileged to be joined by the Boom and Risidio teams. Both are building amazing stuff with regards to NFTs. And obviously NFTs are a huge topic of discussion at the moment. And the reason we're excited about it at Stacks is because we are pursuing this thread of NFTs on Bitcoin, which arguably is better for the long run. And we're lucky to have two teams building in that way. So I'm gonna hand it off to Dan with Boom to give a demo of where the Boom app is. Dan, would you like to take it away? Are you able to share your screens?
I am able to. I think I'll try here in just a second. Just a quick introduction. My name is Dan Trevino. I've been part of the Blockstack and now Stacks community for a few years. Have been building here for a few years. I think one of the things that really excites me here about Risidio and Boom is the fact that we're not like two groups of people that jumped into this because NFTs got popular all of a sudden. Risidio has been around for a while and doing things in the Blockstack space. In terms of Boom's evolution, we started off kind of browser focused with the intention of kind of making a wallet/browser, but our passion outside of Stacks has always been NFTs, and so the availability of NFTs now, the ability to make them, create them, play with them on Stacks really kind of shifted our focus, and so we've kind of gone from this kind of DApp marketplace kind of thing to we shifted towards wallet, and now what you're seeing is we're starting to evolve more into kind of the NFT ownership and creator platform side of NFTs. And so that's where we are. I'll pull up my screen here, except I can't host his disabled participant screen sharing. So I can't share, Jenny. I thought I could.
1 second, I think I can give you that permission. Okay, I might, just to make this go quickly, I might make you the host, and then after you share, you can make me the host again. Is that good, Dan?
Maybe. I don't Zoom well, but I'll try.
Okay. All right, you should be able to share now.
Okay. I hope you're seeing my screen. Yeah. Yes, no, something. Yeah, we're good. Okay, so on the right-hand side, you'll see kind of our landing screen, and again, Boom is right now a Stacks wallet. We did want to make NFTs kind of a first-class citizen in our wallet, so the wallet is kind of our V1, and we're evolving, and I'll show you that picture in just a second here, but this is Boom. You've got all of the kind of basic functions of wallets, sending, receiving. You can scan QR. You can scan users' QR codes if you're kind of in close proximity. NFTs, like I said, are a big passion of ours. You can transfer them, and we're working on a listing place for the listing marketplace for listing them. But you can see here some of the ones that I've actually received from some of the community. It's been kind of awesome what we've kind of enabled. We're really excited. I think we've got some challenges being kind of one of the first ones, and NFTs were not standardized. So we're having to support and juggle multiple different types of things that are not necessarily standard, but it's fun, and it's been a huge benefit kind of being first. Boom boxes are one of the things that we're really proud of. It kind of enables proof of transfer on top, or NFTs on top of proof of transfer. What this really kind of allows us to do is kind of move it to the DeFi space, and not just in terms of like users earning Bitcoin and stacks while purchasing unique NFTs. Like this really opens up a huge number of different opportunities in terms of like how you do creator support or how you do access controls and things like that. And so, as I mentioned, the creator platform that we're working towards is kind of building on this first round of boom boxes that we will open up as soon as the Stacks wallet for web gets a full audit complete. You'll be able to go buy a unique NFT and still kind of get the underlying mechanisms for proof of transfer, which means your stacks stay in your wallet, but you separate kind of the payout from your actual wallet, right? And so now you've got this NFT that represents your payout. You can sell that, you can transfer that, you can keep it if you want, and whoever owns that NFT at payout time is the one who's going to receive the payout. So we're really excited about that. And like I said, that opens up just like a whole other world of options in terms of what we can do. Yeah. And I'll just quickly show you this brief kind of evolution as we kind of migrate towards more of the NFT focus. The Boom wallet, as you see today, is here. If you can see our screen here, we're kind of trying to make NFTs, your NFTs, kind of the user's NFTs, up front and center. We are adding a marketplace, so you'll see like we've kind of minimized the wallet UI, and this is coming. This is still kind of a work in progress, and everything's working yet. But we're minimizing the kind of the wallet functionality and bringing the NFTs up and kind of bringing them front and center. And let me see here. Let me pull one up here. So we've got listing place, marketplace listing functionality that's we testing today and didn't quite work, but we're working on that, so that should be there soon. We've got basic marketplace. You can see these are placeholders, but marketplace listings right here, and we're working on some kind of unique infrastructure in order to support this too. So that's me. That's Boom. That's where we're going. Turn it over to Mike.
Yeah, thanks, Dan. I think you will have to click on Mike and make him the host to allow him to share too.
Two people are waiting.
Oh, you should let those folks in as well.
Admit all. Okay, sorry. How do I make somebody else a host?
So if you click on the top right corner of Mike's little video, click on those little dots. I think it should give you the option to make him a host.
Mike's video dots. Are Mike's video dots somewhere?
Yeah.
Am I looking at the right place here?
Oh, if you go to
Maybe
gallery
stop sharing,
view.
Dan.
Oh yeah, so stop sharing.
The red button at the bottom of the screen.
Oh,
Usually down the
no,
bottom.
that's,
Oh.
don't leave that. Okay, so click on participants. Thank you everyone for this. Oh, well, next time. There you go. Okay, so click on more where Mikey is and make host or allow to share as well, I think is.
How do I turn off my sharing? Is my sharing off?
Is there a red button at the bottom of your screen?
Oh, I think
It's
that
usually
will
down
have
the
Dan
bottom.
leave the meeting, but I think that you should be
Okay.
able.
I'll be back. I think Mike's the host.
Okay.
Mike is the host right now.
Yes. Great.
Okay. Wasn't expecting to do hosting Zoom. That's normally Peter's job. Hi, everybody. Let's
Hey,
wait
Mike.
for Dan to come back. Hi, Georgina. Nice to see you.
Feel free to start sharing whenever you're ready, Mike.
Okay, let's go for it.
Yeah.
So we're kind of in a parallel universe to what you just saw with Dan, but also working on slightly different things, so it should be interesting. Share screen. There it is. Okay, I'm going to start with the old loop bomb app because I think there was a question about loop bomb. in the questions that I saw earlier. So yeah, so just starting with the history, I'm one of those people who kind of left a job. I was actually in the auction trade building a bidding engine called BidLogix in 2017, and then I kind of stumbled across Blockstack videos of Munib and Ryan talking about decentralizing the internet, and haven't really looked back since then. Like Dan, thanks Dan for saying that. We're kind of, you know, long-term members of the community, both been through app mining, both kind of pretty familiar with the space in general. In 2019, I built this thing with a friend of mine called Morris. And Morris is another long-term Bitcoiner who actually built, he designed the Black Swan logo, if you know that. It's a bit of a claim to fame. It's wrote really nicely. And Loopbomb was really his kind of vision. And he initially we released it using Gaia for storage, and it worked by buying credits on Lightning, would you believe? This was in the days before the Stacks blockchain, obviously. We then decided we kind of released it into app mining just as app mining was shutting down in I think at the start of 2019. And then we decided to switch it so that we could mint things on Ethereum, and it became an Ethereum app. So this was kind of part of the start of the journey. Actually, I was kind of minting things on Bitcoin using op return code with a project called Radical Art, even before that, back in 2018, which was kind of learning the nuts and bolts of blockchain technology, actually. And so we've been like this whole thing about NFTs blowing up is quite funny. Having been kind of doing this stuff for 3 years, and you know, just trying to make it work and trying to figure out the best way of doing things. So we've kind of come at this from all sorts of angles. Because we were connecting Loopbomb to OpenSea on Ethereum, it made sense to us to pitch our first Stacks grant application to the Stacks Foundation, building a kind of a new version of OpenSea, which is this marketplace. So this is the admin for the marketplace, and basically the marketplace works by connecting applications to a Clarity contract that's like a registry of applications. And you can see we've got 2 applications at the moment. This is number 1. I'm going to come on and show you in a second. This is an application that we're building for a client to be released in about 2 weeks. And yeah, so if I'm a bit blurry, it's because I'm buried in the code most of the time at the moment. So this is coming along. This is the way we connect it. The way we're trying to build this is to actually have like a templating system. So you can connect, you can have a template smart contract, which we kind of can template the variables into. So you can choose your own values for these things, and then deploy that onto the Stacks blockchain. So what we're trying to do is make it really super simple for all sorts of projects to get up and running quickly. This smart contract is our main minting contract. It's compliant with Frigga's NFT trait that's just come out recently. So this is like the nuts and bolts. The front end of the marketplace looks like this, and this is another thing we're doing. This is very, very test data at the moment, but we've got a really lovely guy called Jamal who's building 3D assets, and to begin with, he started making 3D Stacks logos and Risidio logos and Bitcoin logos. So we're hoping to kind of build that on a parallel track.
One sec, would you mind just letting all the people in the waiting room into the Zoom as well?
Okay, how do I do that? Shall I stop
if you
sharing?
click, oh no, if you click on
Participants.
participants, yeah, you can just admit all.
Admit all, got it.
Great.
Oh,
Thank
Frigga's
you.
here.
Yep. Okay, back to you. Thank you.
Great. Okay, so yeah, so the other thing to note here is that this is number 1 isn't connected to the marketplace because it's like a curated gallery. So we've got a kind of status flag in the application contract, in the registry contract, that allows us to kind of filter applications that join this marketplace and that don't join the marketplace. Yeah, so I think I've got, this is the start of, this is number one. This is on localhost at the moment. This is kind of what the homepage is going to be. So these are placeholder artworks. So there's going to be, the idea is to have kind of a grid of 4 or 9 artworks for some artists who are making the artwork specifically for this site, actually. So it's pretty exciting. We've got the main part of this application is now been designed. Celine has helped with that. Thank you, Celine. It's been really brilliant. So we've got the XD design for this is number one as old Fat Boy Slim. So this is like what we're aiming towards building. You can kind of see this coming along. So this is like the start of the asset details page. The idea here is that the contract supports, yeah, I mean, the contracts are on GitHub, they're open source, so you can see them, but the contracts themselves support minting with royalties. So what we're trying to do is create a set of royalties that enable the artist to pay like a percentage of the money that they sell the artwork for to charity. And that's all built into the contract. Ah, that's helpful. How am I doing for time, Jenny?
You're good, Mike. I think
Yeah.
just one more minute and then we'll head into questions.
Okay. Okay. So kind of in keeping with my background, our main focus has been like building auction marketplace functionality. So the real goal here is to create a marketplace where we can have like you can set up the ability to sell through buy now or through bidding or through make offer. So if I just show you quickly, this is the back end of this is number one. So I should be able to, there might be something I can mint here. I'm not sure which ones I have. Let's have a look. Ah, okay. So this is just some information about the owning address, sale information. So I've got a way of setting up buy now or bidding information. At the moment, we're kind of launching this is number one just with offers. So people can make an offer on chain, but the thing would settle off chain. And then we're actually moving towards like switching the items to be actually on auction, which I think you can see. So the auction starts on that date, and you can set that up actually in the contract. So this data gets passed into the smart contract. Let's do that. We can set that offer. The other thing that's interesting about this, actually, from a dev point of view, is that we've built a cache of the read-only cache of the contract data. So we've got a microservice running that reads the data from the contract and then pushes it out over WebSockets. So we can basically just sit and wait for the. Oh, let's just leave these people in. Okay, this is live coding, so it might not actually happen. But in general, go back. Yeah, in general, the changes in the contract would get fed out through the microservice and then pushed back to the client. So we get the updates in real time. I think that was all I had to show you for now. This is pretty much where we're at right now.
All right, great. Thanks for a great demo, Mike. Mind making me the host again and we can go into questions?
Right, how do I do that?
All right, so if you click on participants and you click, if you hover over my name, there's a more menu.
Just finding you. There you are.
Yep.
Make host.
All right. Great.
Does that work?
Yep. All right.
Great.
Thank you, Dan and Mike, for doing those demos. Really awesome to see your progress. So right now, we're just going to head into some high-level questions, but we'll also leave some time for community members to ask questions in the chat too. But just some things that I think we were generally wondering. What are, and you both went into this, but I think one of the first questions that comes up is, what are the unique selling points of Boom and Risidio versus some of these other NFT platforms such as Rarible, Nifty, Super Rare, and Foundation. So this goes to both of you, Dan, Mike, and anyone else on the Boom and Risidio teams. Feel free to answer.
I can give my version. I think at a fundamental level, NFTs are NFTs, right? They're programmable ownership. I think where we differ is kind of that settlement layer. If you believe in the thesis that Bitcoin is a global value, store of value, then what we're doing at Boom and Risidio is we're settling to that global store of value, right? So I think there are some other additional advantages that we get from being built on stacks, like the POX pieces, like user storage that's built into every kind of automatic user sign up currently. So there are other value propositions built into stacks. There's value propositions built into being written on Bitcoin or secured to Bitcoin. But if you kind of look at it at a high level, an NFT is an NFT is an NFT. So it depends on where your interest lies.
Yeah, I'd probably just add to that the thing that our client said, ChemCollects, which is a really nice quote, that we're kind of making jewelry out of the gold that's already been mined by Bitcoin. So the USPs are also include the low environmental impact. We're reusing the proof of work that's already been done. So we're not minting on a different proof of work blockchain. Then there's the predictable fees and hopefully low gas fees on the Stacks network. Those kind of things.
Yeah, I love that quote, by the way, Mike. It actually made it so much easier for me. Yeah, for me to understand how using NFTs can just add more utility to Bitcoin, and it's already so valuable. But yeah, like turning it into jewelry is such a good analogy. So thank you for sharing that with the community. Both of you have touched on the marketplace aspects of Boom and Risidio, but if you're looking ahead and obviously taking into consideration, the progress with the Stacks protocol too, what can community members look forward to as far as like NFT marketplaces go? We're all aware of the ones that exist elsewhere, like Ethereum, but what can we expect for Stacks?
Shall I go first? I think for me, like NFTs are just the kind of thin end of the wedge. They're a proving ground and an experimental kind of technology that helps us kind of think through and understand digital property. So the really kind of big change that's going to come, I think, on the back of this surge of interest in NFTs in the creative industries, which is brilliant in its own right, especially if it helps musicians and creative people generally own their own stuff. But on the back of it is the ability to own your own digital property. I was like listening to the radio this morning, and they were talking about TikTok and how they're basically stealing all the data off of 13-year-old girls mainly and selling it to their locations and their these are the kind of things that really that's what the community is about. We're trying to rebuild the internet in a fairer way that shares the economic benefits more evenly and respects people's privacy. Having a 13-year-old daughter myself is makes it a little bit more real.
Yeah.
You have a TikTok creator?
Yeah, she's not on TikTok. She doesn't like it, thank God.
Yeah, I think we're also going to see kind of obviously, to me it's obvious, kind of a specialization in marketplaces, because NFTs are more than just kind of creative enablers, right? You can do so much more. Excuse me. One of my super interests is kind of operationalizing the NFTs, right? And how do we set up standards for kind of UI around operationalizing NFTs and doing things for not just online access, but when you get into things like smart home access or car access and things like this, right? Like there's so many more opportunities as we build these things out. And I think so you're going to see obviously some kind of specialization as people figure out specific niches. And then probably some consolidation after that. But I think there's a ton of possibilities here.
Yeah, actually, Dan, that brings me to some of the other questions that have come up. So I know you've talked about boomboxes a lot, but when you talk about operationalizing NFTs, like right now where people are converging is on DeFi. So they'll think of, with boomboxes, they'll think of futures and that, but that opens the door to so many more use cases. Can you, even though you've already talked about boomboxes so much, can you talk a little more about, what they mean, how they're related to stacking, and what they could lead to in the future too, if once everybody grasps that concept and actually starts using them for stacking?
Sure. And I think we were talking about these things in the Stacks community a year and a half, 2 years ago, when we were working on different ways of talking about app mining, right? Stacking in support of not just creators, but maybe applications, right? Like, so you're a fan of Sigil. Sigil is a great application. Maybe they have an address that you could stack, and your rewards would go to them. So there's like a whole bunch of opportunities in terms of like funding, supporting. There's Pytron that Tedia in our community has built, which is like for donating to charities and things like that. Mike's building on top of, or Mike's building similar functionality to his stuff. So like, I think everywhere you see payments and everywhere you see kind of decentralized finance, you're going to see aspects where these NFTs and where Stacks NFTs can touch those pieces. We're early, so I think it's going to take some time for us to kind of figure out how everything has to work together. I think we're still building those kind of basic Lego blocks, but I think what you're going to see is just after we get there, this huge proliferation of like just across every ecosystem.
Thanks, Dan. So on that note, Mike, Risidio actually covers a lot of different use cases, and you've talked about the priority is obviously giving artists autonomy in the way that they are getting paid for their work. So beyond like your typical NFT, which can just be a digital image, I know that the Risidio team is working on multimedia things. I don't know if you're at liberty to talk about some of the other projects that you're going into, but maybe like a taster to get the community excited and also to get people thinking about NFTs as more than just digital artwork.
Yeah, certainly. I don't know what I can say actually in this regard, but there's definitely
maybe Peter can chime in.
Yeah, go on then, Peter.
Okay, so I guess yeah, we sort of made a distinction in a way between let's call it kind of high profile celebrity projects that sort of act as like a flagship, an attractor to a mainstream audience. And that's one of the things that we wanted to crack, was to balance the interest in the Stacks community in NFTs in this space to a wider audience. And in support of that, we started a project, I think Mike mentioned it earlier, with the artist known as Chemical X, who's a pretty well-known artist in the UK that's worked in collaboration with a number of different celebrity artists. The collaborations in terms of the NFTs are to create much more sort of rich multimedia NFTs. So they're combining art with music or 3D elements. They're like mini films, but not adverts, not trailers or anything like that, but like pieces of multimedia digital art that can be minted as NFTs, highly valuable, desirable. I mean, that's the sort of gist of it. And we started the collaboration a couple of weeks, 2-3 weeks back now, with the first 4 celebrity artists, Fatboy Slim, that you guys may know, the guys from Orbital, Dave Stewart, formerly from the Eurythmics. I think most people know Dave Stewart, and most recently Cara Delevingne, the model and filmmaker. So pretty interesting. They're all now in the process of minting the NFTs, and all the press releases are going out, I think, in a couple of days, if I'm right, Jenny. So yeah, quite exciting. I guess the idea is just to, create a lot of buzz that can also zero that in on what the possibilities are with Stacks and what the what it offers, but also building in that sort of more conscious purpose element. So as Mike mentioned, all of the projects are geared towards supporting charities and or the environment. The whole project with Cara Delevingne is all based on a charity for her foundation, which is quite interesting. So that's sort of where the launch is, and of course, that's with the intention of being able to attract not only a more mainstream audience, but also other musicians, other artists that are not, those kind of celebrity artists. And we're moving that from there into a film project with Hollywood that we're probably not at liberty to talk about right now, but there's a clue. So quite exciting roadmap, trying to push the boundaries of what, of how you think about an NFT or a piece of art or a piece of digital art, and cover all of those sort of elements. So high value where appropriate, and more available for everybody else as well. So everybody can be included. So that's the sort of general idea.
Thanks, Peter. Okay, so I see that we've got a lot of technical questions and stuff in the chat, and we'll get to them. I think some of the questions that I wanted to wrap up with from my side were just some questions regarding the legal rights and that landscape for NFTs. I think that this is a pretty rich conversation as well. I see Mirlo in the audience. I know that that's something she's working on. Hi, Mirlo, and is dedicated a lot of time on. But the first question is, and you don't have to have the answers for this, of course, but just any thoughts you have so far. How can various legal rights be defined for both the creator and the owner of NFTs? For example, how can someone know if they're legally restricted from using an NFT in a certain way? So they're obviously really popular. Everyone's excited that they have ownership of it, but it seems like very few people know what the limits of their ownership actually are. So what have you all learned from that so far, or about that so far?
I can say what little I know about it, and which is that it's quite interesting that the conversations are going on with the lawyers of these artists. So Norman Cook's lawyer is involved in the conversations, and what we're hoping is that those guys will work out these questions and then lay the foundation for how NFTs can be treated and handled legally for the rest of the community. So it's like the people with the lawyer power can do the work of kind of working out exactly what the rights should be that protect the artist and define the use of the NFTs.
And I'll add that could easily be encoded into the purchase of the contract or purchase of the NFT, right? I think the hard part is you get into what we saw with EOS, if you'll remember, is initially they had this governance kind of covenant. Whenever you did a transaction on EOS, they automatically bundled this code, was it like a contract, I guess, in every transaction that said you agreed to mediation and all this other stuff. And that was a huge disaster. So yeah, the recording contracts, thank you, Freaker. So that was a huge disaster on chain. So I think there's still work to be done in this space, but I mean, like, there's no reason you couldn't include any contract along with the purchase of an NFT that details the rights and privileges, that go along with the purchase and restrictions. I think to me, a more interesting thing is what we've seen if you look at like OpenSea or any of these other Ethereum sites, is we've seen a huge number of people just like taking other copyrighted material and mashing it up, right? And like, to me, like, that's fair use, right? But other people see that differently. And so to me, that's where the interesting kind of intersection is going to happen. Like, who's going to decide what's fair use, how much of certain artwork is fair use and how much is not. I mean, I know those things have already been discussed, but when we're moving them onto blockchain and somebody else is selling them for $69 million or whatever, like, it becomes a different conversation.
Got it. And Mirlo is here as well. I don't think we can hear you. It doesn't look like you're muted,
Now,
but we
can
can.
you hear me?
Yes, yeah.
Well, as it's
Feel free to
it's
chime in.
not working. Sorry. No, I just wanted to say that this is something that has to be solved inevitably, because and actually the people who are taking this more seriously are the more serious people on the game, which are, for example, Terra Virtua and in OpenSea. It's very interesting to see the terms of services, how they handle this so far. These platforms, they don't want to be responsible. They disclaim responsibility on these problems with copyrights, and but some of them have taken care, as Dan said. They have included some conditions and some use licenses to their NFTs. For example, the NBA. The case of the NBA and Terra Virtua, they have they are very. The CEO of Terra Virtua has articles about that, because they have contracts with two Hollywood. I can't remember which ones. One is Godfather, with the rights to images from Godfather or something like that in the films. They count on including copyright licenses with the NFTs, and the NBA, it's included, and the CryptoKitties also include some. So you can use them usually for display, but for certain things you cannot use them otherwise. Of course, piracy, anyone can take a screenshot and you can do all kind of but it's crime like it used to be. I like to say that for NFTs, for authors, for artists, for creators, the NFTs, people who create them and sell them, they are more protected because they have this certification, and because they have the NFT, it's easier eventually to claim, if they have to claim that in court or anything. I'm sure they will be more supported than so far in other platforms where your images, I can tell my images are there. They have been used everywhere. And the ones who are in platforms 2.0, you lose control absolutely. So I think copyrights will be needed, and they are needed. And people who are taking very seriously as a business NFTs are already taking care of this, because it needs to be taken care. That's why we want to work on that to make them fair for everyone, but especially for creators who now didn't have their voice heard. They couldn't bring their opinion on licenses. You have to just agree with the terms of services, or you didn't have the possibility to say anything, and now it will be possible. So it's another wonderful thing for NFTs. It's another, for the user on the internet, it makes lots of sense. And that's
Thanks, Rula. Great. All right, so unless we want to pursue that line of thought more, I think that we can dive into some of the questions that our audience has asked, and please feel free to continue asking questions, everyone. But I think I'll just scroll up here. Dan, I see that you've already asked this, but I think it's worth talking to to the whole group about, but the idea of cost for minting on the Stacks network. Can you explain why it's so much cheaper on Stacks because of proof of transfer? Or Mike, you can also feel free to do that.
Yeah, I don't know the mechanics of why. I can tell you that it's just way cheaper in terms of like the process because Stacks miners are securing things to Bitcoin. We don't have to do proof of work, but you know, in terms of like how long we can stay, I don't know the mechanics of like how the prices might fluctuate. Obviously, miner space might become more of a premium as the Stacks ecosystem builds out. So that remains to be seen.
I think this is a question of interest for a lot of folks who are trying to figure out the differences between transaction fees on Stacks and, you know, the issue that we're seeing with gas and transaction fees on ETH. And obviously that can change, but I think it's good to hear from builders on Stacks about, you know, what the current situation is, even though it might change in future. But I see, Mike, you were going to say something, so please go ahead.
I would say the economics of proof of transfer are kind of being worked out, aren't they? That in a way, it's the ratio of the value of Stacks to Bitcoin is critical. So there's a lot of factors that are critical. But the key thing, like Dan said, is there's no proof of work underneath it. It's this like lovely way of, you know, everybody wins kind of mechanism, which is quite incredible that they managed to come up with that. Because it started with proof of burn, which you can see you burn a valuable asset and that creates value somewhere else. So that's kind of straightforward. But yeah, I think I'd defer to Fridger and Marvin and people like that for a better answer on this question. But as far as I can tell, it's a delicate interplay of the economics that are going on there.
Yeah, Marvin or Freaker, would you like to comment on it? You obviously don't have to, but if you feel inclined to, go ahead. Okay, no problem. All right, so we've got a few minutes left. I think that, you know, a big question on everyone's minds, and we've talked about it a little bit already, is just this connection to Bitcoin, this unique connection to Bitcoin that the Stacks network has, and what that means for NFTs. So just a general discussion point of where you see Bitcoin NFTs performing, or how you see them performing in the ecosystem 3 years from now. It's a very arbitrary sort of timeline, but I think that's sort of the question on everyone's minds is we're excited about NFTs on Bitcoin. What does that actually look like?
Well, for me, I think this is kind of just the start. As I said earlier, this is the start of something much bigger and more interesting. You know, how do we mint all sorts of other kinds of assets, driving licenses, as Dan mentioned as well, you know, linking to supply chains. How do we link NFTs to supply chains? How do we bring in physical assets? These are the kind of exciting kind of questions as this space evolves. It's gonna kind of trundle on, and obviously building on Bitcoin is it's not going anywhere. Whereas Ethereum 1 is dubious as to whether those NFTs are going to survive the transition to Ethereum 2 or what's going to happen there. Whereas with Bitcoin, it's like there's a secure base, and I think it's proven mathematically that we only need one proof of work blockchain. We don't need more than one to do all this stuff. So Bitcoin's the obvious solution for that, from my point of view.
All right, thanks, Mike. Anything you want to add there, Dan, or anyone else?
No, thank you.
Sorry, I was going to say, Jenny, I think the clue is in the 3 years, because it's all about longevity. It's all about, something that can genuinely go the distance. And that's what we're interested in terms of the value of the artwork, the value of the work, the value of the musician, the secondary market, the tertiary market, and the fact that all of that is contained on the most stable and the most secure blockchain. So the potential, I think Dan and Mike and you know, you've all mentioned it, it's just the opportunities are you know, quite unimaginable in many ways. Really, really exciting. And I agree. I think we're just at the very, very beginning of this journey.
Right. Super exciting to be so early. Thank you for that, Peter. Benaya, I think that you just raised your hand. Do you have a question that you want to ask? I don't know if that was from before.
Oh, that was from, I had a hand raised before and then I raised it down because Dan answered my question, but now I have another one.
Oh, go ahead. Go for it.
Thank you for allowing the opportunity. And I want to thank everybody for organizing this. And this is one of the first meetups in regards to Bitcoin, NFTs, or, you know, in the industry. So I'm very excited to be part of this. And I became introduced to Stacks ecosystem a few months ago, and I'm very excited to learn more and more as I go. I'm recently completing my master's in data science, and after I finish that, I would like to start developing using a Clarity programming language and integrate that to, I mean, as I understand it, sky's the limit as to what can be built. So I'm just open to you know, opportunities and what comes next. But for my question right now is, I'd like to understand how can an artist or a musician can bring their physical art and make them NFT while protecting their value. You know, like somebody mentioned before, I think it was GM. She said, you know, her pictures are everywhere, and you know, kind of there's no control to that. So, how can an artist can protect their assets? I guess my question is, and what mechanisms are being built through Boom and Risidio so that it's easier for them to mint their assets into NFT. Sorry for the long winding question, but yeah.
No, thanks, and congrats on your studies. That's awesome. I hope you start developing with Clarity soon.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I can certainly give an answer.
Yeah.
And I'm sure has one as well. I mean, there's all sorts of kind of ways that this can evolve, how to link physical assets. I mean, the simplest way is encoding transaction IDs in RFID tags and things like that. A friend of mine who's a physicist at Sussex University, he suggested he's got a friend who can actually write thorium ions into a product with a God knows what molecular beam. So you could write a private key into an artwork, but unfortunately you need such a low vacuum that the artwork would be destroyed by the process of doing it. But in terms of biometrics and there's all sorts of projects out there that are looking at ways to encode wallets. I think probably Marvin's probably got some ideas about this in terms of what he's up to. But yeah, I think that's a really exciting kind of direction that things are going to take.
I was going to say, and some artists are already doing some of these things, right? For like their physical art, in terms of what is actually displayed and what you see versus the actual creation, and maybe things that are somewhat hidden or kind of obscured. So there's things that you can do there as well.
Mirla, is there anything you want to add there?
No, just I don't know if Binaya is really aware that this is very the power of proving the ownership, or the idea that in the digital world ownership becomes a reality, which wasn't an unprecedented reality, and that's the whole the core of the power of these NFTs. That's the difference between now and before, in terms of protection also, because you definitely are in control of what you bring to the web as an offer. So and then you can decide the uses, and even someone in the chat was talking about tracking the artwork, or different following sales or following can be also tracked, and so it's the uses. So, yes, so that makes that makes. I think I try to say from the legal point of view that we have been until blockchain arrived, we have been like with no papers. We were on the web, like in the jungle with so, and that makes us very. And we know, unfortunately, we have lots of examples of people who are unidentified, and they cannot prove their ownership of anything, and so, and this is just a difference. Just the fact of proving your ownership is already fantastic.
You've just reminded me, Georgina, that we were thinking about like uploading supplementary evidence, like a short video of the artist making the work, and these kind of ideas are really powerful as well. You can kind of imagine. I think there was a Democracy Earth project where they were trying to do like NFT me type idea, where you can create an identity, link it to your Stacks blockchain identity, maybe. That's a documentary evidence of yourself.
Yeah, it's interesting to explain also the story of the NFTs, linking the real world with the physical, world with the virtual world with the digital world is very, very important. And yesterday I was in a clubhouse meeting, and they were asking for that. They were talking about NFT management, and they were talking about other platforms. And it was very interesting to listen to that. They were saying, well, but you don't have the, it's very good. They were very happy, and very people who are using these platforms for a while, but they were explaining that, but there's no, let them find the moment to let us explain what is behind our work, because they want, now that they see they can they have ownership, they say, well, but we would like to explain something more. And that's interesting, because it's people are coming with enthusiasm, artists, and it's good. But it's not, someone said that it's not just for artists, and it's good that also we understand that NFTs is for, it's a much wider application. I mean, it's
for everyone.
I think you also touched on a part there about in terms of use of the NFTs, like blockchain and encryption gives us a whole lot more freedom in terms of, or flexibility in terms of like regulating use, right? Streaming portions of content or access to content, or even, I saw this video, I think it was 2-3 years ago, Peter Todd at one of the Bitcoin conferences talking about single-use seals, like, locking NFTs up behind like single-time viewership kind of things, like, so you can get like hyper-focused on like ownership and what access means with these things, which can go obviously south real quick. As as soon as we kind of got digital music, I think Sony created their own kind of proprietary DRM'd format for accessing their music, right? And that, luckily, that didn't last, but I think we'll see similar types of things.
And on demand, lots of, I think it opens very new possibilities for on demand artworks. I think for exclusive, what we call exclusive licensing, which are not possible today. They are not considered today. And with NFTs, they can be considered. And it's another, and it opens, wow. I can imagine lots of very special use cases for that. I think it's going to be much more quality in everything, in the relation, there's more transparency, of course, because of the technology, but also quality. Because the intermediaries are disappearing, and it makes things much more meaningful.
I'd like
if you understand this, but it's
I just want to flag that we have a minute left. I think that I'm happy to keep the conversation going for 5 more minutes, but when it's flagged that, Benaya, did you have an urgent question?
Yeah, I wanted to make one last comment. I was in conversation with an artist from Denmark. He is apparently very popular because people are calling her every week to request if she has any arts for sale. But then the most recent art she gave to a gallery, they sold it for $20,000 and then they kept 65% of it. And then
Oh,
I
wow.
was trying to explain to her that, okay, you don't have to go through all this stuff. Okay, there's this new technology and then you can mint your art and then be a owner of it and then, you know, get the royalty on the subsequent sales. And she was very excited about the idea. So I want to understand, are there platforms or will there be capabilities with Boombox or Risidio so that it helps these artists to get introduced to and then, you know, take ownership from there?
That's awesome. Bring her to Stacks.
If I,
We'll work with her.
Just
if I may say a word there, there's a lot of work to do. I have just started a podcast a month ago or something, in education for artists and for art users of this new technology. One of the things is for artists to understand that they are not trapped in these galleries or platforms. Well, now they have more options, and maybe they can keep their relationship with their gallery, but they may want to test something else, and they may want to go to Risidio or just to test, because it's coming. And actually, I'm in contact with even with they are like they are people who are explaining that even in the old, in the 2.0, they are understanding that it's changing, and they are introducing, well, use more the newsletter and less social media, and you don't depend on the galleries. I am in contact with influencers that do this, that are starting to spread this new way of understanding even their business, to take control. It's just for them to realize that they have now tools to start taking control of their self-management, starting self-management. And so there's a lot of education to do, well, education to explanations to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think, you know, the closing thought here, unless anyone else has anything to say, is that we can reimagine things like authorship, ownership, and access control, which I think the way that I'm supposed to pronounce this person's username is Quixotic, that you mentioned in the chat. I would love for us to consider to continue this conversation in the next meetup and on Discord. But you know, the whole idea and the whole paradigm of the user-owned internet is that you have value as a user inherently, and the work that you create has inherent value. You don't have to go to a gallery, or you don't have to rely on a platform like Spotify to tell you that what you do is valuable. Those platforms and those spaces wouldn't exist without your work in the first place. So it's getting and artists already know this, but it's getting mainstream society to realize that none of these things would exist without the content that we produce, and we just need to give users and artists and ourselves a platform to automatically get compensated for that work that we produce, instead of going to an intermediary and asking them to evaluate us. So that's what I've learned from a lot of these NFT conversations. I'm so excited by it. Thank you to Dan and Mike and Peter and Mirlo and both the Risidio and Boom teams for demoing the work that you're doing, and for also engaging in this really rich discussion. What are the best places to continue to engage you all in this conversation?
Discord.
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 Great, and happy to do a follow-up meetup too, if that's more of like a discussion, if we want as well, because this was really interesting.
May I please take one quick moment to make one comment?
Sure.
First, thank you for organizing this, and I'm excited to be a part of the community, and I would like to be involved. So this is my ask. If there are any opportunities, you know, be it internship or just becoming a part of the project, in any way, if I can contribute, is there a way that I can link with somebody here to explore the opportunities where I can provide value. So I'd like to be in contact.
I love your help.
Yeah,
I love your help. So
we'll be competing for it.
Yeah.
So yeah, DM us on Discord.
I called it first. I said it first.
Good, you did get in there, Dan.
I'm
All right.
more in a need.
Okay, everybody needs help. All right, so we'll connect on Discord. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. I'm looking forward to the next Builders Meetup. I think that there's one tomorrow on decentralized identities. Marvin, I think that you will be speaking and leading a lot of that discussion. So I'll see you all tomorrow if you can make it.
Can you
Thanks,
Thank you,
Jenny.
Thank
Thank
you very
you.
much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thanks,
Bye.
everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
all.
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it.
Bye, everyone.